Good morning, everyone. My name's Pinnicky. I brought Vivian O'Callaghan onto the
How are you doing?
call because we're going to break through the rewards plan that's just been released for HyperNation. Don't forget, this is us sort of going through it step by step and just trying to break it down so that we can give you an overview of what we perceive it to be. So this is purely what we see, not what we've been told, because we haven't been told anything yet. None of us who have basically got a purple box and upwards know anything at all yet. But in a way, it's a good way to see this with a fresh set of eyes, just to see what changes they've made and what we see going forwards of the potential of this. So again, this is just our overview. So let's go ahead. Go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, so look, I suppose I'll share screen first and I get the document up, which is here. But just to, I suppose, very quickly say, obviously everyone here is familiar with Hyperverse, and as a general system, it was excellent. But as can be the case, and then as human nature, people can try and find ways around it without adding any value to the system. So, what were the problems? What was it within Hyperverse that caused the issues we've had over the last few months and caused that liquidity to be pulled out? There was probably sort of three-pronged issues there. Number one was, someone could put in, 100 grand, build a structure, suck money out of the system and never take any part whatsoever in anything to do with Hyperverse. Obviously, that is someone that adds zero value to it. And if you're adding zero value, how can you expect to take out value without it causing problems to the structure and the company behind it? That was one issue. A second issue would be people, for example, who could bring in 2, 3, 4, big people in the MLM industry, let them do their thing, build up a structure underneath you where you yourself, are doing very little or nothing, and again reap, very significant rewards doing very little or adding very little value to the system. And the third one, I think, is the company were putting in various products and services in the back office, and there was nothing to, a lot of people were not using it in any way at all. And I'll put my hand up, I wasn't using them initially. And again, they were creating something that could give us value, but also create value for the company, which in turn allows them to keep the whole process moving. And that wasn't happening either. So they were the three sort of issues, I think, that the old Hyperverse and now HyperNation were looking at these problems and looking how they could address them. And the beauty about what we've looked at this so far is I think they've figured it out, and they have a very clever way of putting this together, I believe. But so with those sort of issues in mind, it's worth having that as your base point looking through this process, I think. So do you want to add anything to that, Pinnicky, before I go on?
No, I think you're absolutely right. This is, we all learn from past mistakes or past things that have gone on. That's the way, we all learn. So, this is, almost part of the learning curve. We're also moving into a whole new industry. So we got to remember that Hyperverse was quite simple, almost like a one-trick pony, which had a few extra bells and whistles. But HyperNation is a whole completely different ball game, and the potential of it is way more. So I think it's interesting as we go through this plan, what you'll see, what we break it down to be. So go ahead, let's see the first slide.
So let's get cracking on this. So if we we go through, I'm not going to read out the disclaimer. I think anyone can look at that another time. That's not what we're here to do.
Yes.
It's probably worth reading through this just to get the general idea of what it's about. And so maybe I'll do that quickly. But yes. HyperNation is a sovereign nation for everyone in the virtual universe. Amidst the chaos and uncertainty in this world, HyperNation upholds a general consensus that will ultimately benefit everyone, both in the metaverse and real world. The economic consistency base of a universal basic income, transparency, fairness, equality. HyperNation offers not only a place for socializing, but a place where information is nurtured and propagated across the infinite space of the virtual realm. HyperNation is the great roof that shall shelter us against the storm of ignorance and violence. So look, and I think it was just worth reading. I'm not going to comment any further on that.
Yeah.
This is probably important, all right. So Hyper NFT is a comprehensive first level NFT platform for NFT digital assets on chain, issuance, exposure, whitelist casting, and acquisition. It has a rich whitelist of NFT minting types, and users can mint NFTs directly from the project site. So, I mean, in general terms, and we might come back to that, for anyone that is aware of OpenSea and what it's about, I think this NFT platform are aiming to be a competitor to OpenSea, and like OpenSea is absolutely massive, turns huge money, has massive NFT opportunities on there. And if you can get on to, if you were able to be aware of good projects at their minting stage, the potential in them is completely massive. So this system here is going to allow us to see these NFTs at a very early stage, but I think we'll revisit that. Creators usually experience a high barrier, so people that create the actual NFTs of entry into the NFT market. Hence, the NFT, Hyper NFT, lowers this by acting as a gathering place for high quality blue chip projects. The distribution platform gives exposure to high quality projects at the same time accumulates users for the early stage of the projects and reduces the operational burden. In other words, it's easier for the people creating the NFTs. It gives huge opportunity for people like us that get to see them first. And that's, of course, a huge advantage for people bring the NFTs to the platform because they get exposure. Probably one of the hardest things to do when you create an NFT. The Hitchhiker of the Star is the sole NFT survey as a passport into HyperNation. That's important to know. The leading virtual nation that strives to bring freedom, equality, and human rights to the world. Note that the HOS can be exclusively purchased at only 2 platforms, Hyper NFT and OpenSea NFT, and we'll probably touch on that too a little later when we're talking about the green box.
So hang on, give me a couple of minutes, and I'll give you a sort of breakdown overview of this page, because this page is probably one of the most important.
Agreed.
Because when you sort of look at this, you think, okay, we've sort of read off what it says on there, but what does it actually mean to you? And the answer is, when you enter HyperNation, if we go back to the days of Hyperverse, and the concept of that is how they were going to, launch new crypto projects and bring them to market, and we would get a reduced price, etc. This is basically the next generation of that. You're in HyperNation, and the only way in is basically when you have your Hitchhiker of Star passport. That's your NFT. That's your window into this world. What this means is anybody who out there who's creating NFTs needs a platform to be able to launch them from. Now, some people will literally launch them into the market and offer a minting process. In other words, you get them for literally nothing. That means that when you become an active member of HyperNation, then you can actually mint some new NFTs that haven't even hit the market yet. And the only place you can mint them is HyperNation, because HyperNation is allowing a platform where, I don't know, let's say Vivian creates a new kind of NFT and he wants to launch it on the market. He will bring it into HyperNation. He will do a process called minting, and there'll be certain tasks you'll do to be able to be a part of that. So this is where this sort of melts into everything that we're doing. So in effect, you could literally be the first people to get some brand new NFTs that are not even on the market yet. So now you've entered a whole new phase. This means that all sorts of projects can be launched, including members that we've got, who can do art and music and write songs and literally anything and everything. So this is literally just the first page of, what this allows. And almost, when you think about it, this sort of verges on the green box too. Anybody who wants to come in, wants to be a part of this, the only way in is either buy an NFT from OpenSea or buy a green box, which has a 2D NFT.
Yeah, and I mean, we can touch on that further when we're talking about the green box, but
Yes.
like what I would say is this is just to give an example, probably an extreme example, but it's good to get it out there. there's a NFT called the Bored Ape Yacht Club. There was 10,000 of them created. At the time when they were minted, if you're lucky enough to be aware of it and take the opportunity, they were sold sort of between $400 and $600 about 18 months ago. The cheapest one you can buy right now on OpenSea is 100 grand.
Wow.
So if you had bought one for $400, and by the way, the floor on them 3 or 4 months ago was 250 grand. So, you know, the point here is if you were aware of that at the time and could see the potential in it, you could have bought one for $400 and now be sitting on at a very minimum value of 100 grand. Of course, you could have, there are ones that have sold for multiple millions.
Yeah.
So, you know, I suppose what I'm trying to say there is, by being, you know, whatever color box you have, you get the exposure to those. Now, whether you buy them or not will be your own decision, but you get exposure to these NFT minting processes. And I can assure you, if you get into the right ones on there, and obviously, look, you'll probably buy a couple that mightn't do well, but if you buy across 5 or 10 over time, then there's a very strong possibility you will hit 1 or 2 that'll do extremely well. And you get that exposure by being within the HyperNation. So it's one, you know, HyperNation is not just, and this is the thing we really have to get out of our heads, it's not just the ×3. It's lovely. And the money you're making out of that ×3, you can decide maybe instead of taking all out in withdrawals, maybe I'll put a bit into an NFT, or I'll do some DeFi, or I'll stake some MOF, or whatever it might be. But it's not just one thing. And that's what we really have to open our minds up to.
Yes.
We got to move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this one is fairly straightforward, but still we'll cover it. Being a citizen of HyperNation, what's it give you? We appreciate the utmost support from our community in developing HyperNation. Citizens of HyperNation can now reap up to, and it's always important to read those 2 words,
yes,
up to 3 times rewards, as this is a way of expressing our gratitude to all loyal citizens. 3 times reward. Up to 0.7% of the principal sum will be given daily until the pending rewards of the membership is fully released. Just look, my understanding of that is people that bought a box, whether it was yellow or purple or otherwise, you're going, I believe you are getting a 5 times on that, just that until it runs out. And I believe that's going to be a 0.7. But my understanding is for, you know, anyone that just comes in and buys a package, I think it's time, well, it is ×3. And then there is that up to 0.7, and I think there'll be variations on how that's decided, but we're going to come to that here.
Yeah, I think that's very important to cover. It's, yes, it's 3 times, and you know, this is what I've said in the past. What we've just covered, literally on the slide before this, is the potential is way more than 3x is. It just, you know, shows it's something to get you in the door to say, oh, look, here's an incentive for you to come in and become a member of this club, this exclusive club, which is exactly what HyperNation is. It's an exclusive club where you join, you buy an NFT to become a member, and you get up to 0.7%, and up to is the clever part, exactly what Vivian says. So don't get stuck on, oh, they're going to give 0.7. No, it says up to. So don't go around, you know, giving misinformation to anybody, telling them it's something that it's not. Up to, you need to use part of that as well.
Yeah, so then the HyperNation citizenship, again, you can see there's 3 different levels and the rebuy. So obviously this is quite familiar to anyone that's been in Hyperverse. You know, you can get a package for 400 HU, 1200 HU, 4800 HU, the 3 times value. That's all very normal to us as well. Lease rate is standard. But the bit at the end, and we're not going to be able to give you clarity on this, except to point out the fact that it exists. You know, the first package, there's 0 booster. The you know, the 1200 one, there's 1 booster, and the next one there's 2 booster. I don't know what that means. I'm sure Penicky doesn't know what that means, but you know, at a guess, it would appear that maybe at 1, you know, at 0 booster, maybe the, you know, this is where the up to percentage comes in. Maybe it's at a certain level at the 0 booster. At 1, it's at a different level, and at 2, it's a different level. I don't know the answer to that. It's just something I would be surmising. But if you look at the bottom, you know, they've got the note in there, standard release rate up to 0.7% of the daily fixed release. So I would suggest there's some connection between that percentage and the booster level.
Yeah, that's the way I read it. You know, when me and Vivian spoke about this yesterday, and he goes, what does the booster mean? I said, well, it could mean a variety of things. You know, 0 means you just get the whatever the standard rate is, and this is where the up to comes in. We don't know for sure what the booster means, but it kind of makes sense that, you know, there's something that you have to do to achieve that booster of 1 or 2. So what we're being shown is you can't just come in and say, oh, let me just do this, throw something into it, and go to sleep for the next few hundred years. It doesn't work that way. You know, like any society, you have to be an active member of it. So always remember the up to is important.
Yeah, and so that brings us on to the contribution points. So we'll read through this.
Yeah.
It sounds more complicated than it is. Once we actually go into probably the following slide, it'll be easier to explain it, but we'll read through it anyway, just so people they're trying to get their head around it. The national level is determined. So your national level is probably your standing overall. Your national level is determined by both community performance and contribution points. So your contribution points determine the upgrade and downgrade of your national level. But regardless of this fluctuation, your community performance is unaffected. There are various ways from which you can improve your contribution points so as not to downgrade your national level. So, I'll keep reading. If any of the community performance or contribution points is lower than the current accumulated value, the national level will be immediately downgraded, whereas the current lowest score in a range corresponding to the level will continue to remain at that level. Don't worry if you're not following this at the moment. The contribution points serves the important purpose of maintaining your national level, as well as allowing you to enjoy the various rewards provided in HyperNation. To ensure that you get the reward that you fully deserve, it is important to maintain a standard figure of contribution points. And then just a note at the bottom, these contribution points are valid for 45 days, after which the corresponding contribution points will expire. For example, when you earn your contribution points on the 2nd of July, then by all means, the contribution points shall expire on the 17th of August, 45 days later. So do you want to talk about this, Binnicky?
I think on this one, when you read it, I think most people are in the same boat. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. But I think when you read it and then move on to the next slide, then you sort of, I suppose that the buzzwords in this are community performance and contribution points. In other words, you have to be a member of this community. Don't forget, if you're in HyperNation, why would you not be a member of this community? Secondly, contribution points. That means everybody has to contribute. We can't have, thousands of people who literally go to sleep on a park bench while 3 people do all the work. That's the way society works. We can't have, thousands of people sitting in a country doing nothing while a few people work. It's almost on the same model.
Yeah, so we'll explain this. It'll be easier to explain this when we have numbers in front of us.
Yes.
We'll do in a second, but just, the point on how can you earn contribution points? Well, basically add value in some way or another. So one obviously is the very simple process of just logging in on a daily basis into your account. So that's pretty easy, pretty straightforward, and something anyone should be able to do. Contribute value to the community. So that could be any number of ways. And again, possibly we'll come back to that. Solidarity and unity. What does that mean? A mutual consensus to realize a harmonious society. We'll come back to that. Social media outreach. That's probably very obvious. Being involved in Discord, Twitter, and interact with the HyperNation accounts, and probably maybe helping people out along the way. I'm assuming the likes of YouTube might be involved in that, or others. We'll see. Number 5, participate in campaigns, airdrops, rewards. And of course, number 6, there'll be other things as well. Do you want to touch on these, Pinicky?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is just perfect. Daily login to HyperNation account. We're not saying you have to log in and literally go and, you know, spend hours in there every single day. But guess what? If you're a part of this HyperNation, I mean, the perfect example is when things come out and information comes out, that HyperNation is literally, it's not a case of them sending you an email. That's reactive. You're supposed to log in and find out what's going on. It's a bit like having your own shop and not bother going in. It doesn't make any sense. So you daily log in. So when you've spoken to members in the past and they say, oh, I haven't logged in 6 months, well, that sort of solves that problem. They are not contributing. You know, contribute value to the community. Absolutely. Just by being a member, just by, I don't know, going to see certain things or taking part in various, you know, things like whitelisting, minting, NFTs. The potential is just amazing. It's like there's not enough words to even cover it all. The next one I think is very important. Solidarity and unity, a mutual consensus to realize a harmonious society. This is almost what our strategy group has been doing literally for the past few weeks, which is it's all about helping the community and becoming a member of a society where, or a community where everybody helps each other. This is not a let me grab this and run off and do my own thing and then tell people how great I am. This is basically about all of us taking each other on a journey hand in hand and saying, look, this is where you can go. This is where you can make things happen. That's what solidarity and unity is all about. It's about a community. So contribution points that's the way I see it. Social media outreach, absolutely. We want people from outside of HyperNation to come and see what we have to offer. It's pretty straightforward. The only way we're going to do that is when you're on things like Twitter, etc., etc. Participate in campaigns, airdrops, rewards. I can put this quite bluntly. It's like, you know, you got to be daft not to participate in campaigns, airdrops. You know, you're literally getting things for nothing. Rewards. The and more bit is just great because there are going to be so many different options. When we've got hundreds of thousands of members in this nation, there's going to be, you know, MOF is part of this story too. And that's going to be in there doing something on the financial side. You've got GNX in there doing all sorts of things about, you know, data and storage of data. You know, we don't know what else is going to come up. So this is all about being a contributing member to the society. How else are you going to get your universal basic income? They're not going to give it you for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be part of the value creation to expect to get some value out. You know, obviously that was where there was a bit of a slip up when it came to Hyperverse. It was possible to come in, put some money in, do nothing, and either have a couple of big leaders in below you, build it all for you, or putting in a very big chunk of money and just taking that money out and adding absolutely zero. So it's about all of us creating some value in some way. Mm-hmm. A lot of those ways won't be particularly stressful. It'll be just creating that value. Everyone will be able to add different things as well. And by doing that, the company itself can create value from what's being done by us as a group. And in turn can obviously then continue to pay out what they pay out and keep giving us the opportunities that come down the line. So it's and I'll touch more on that as we tie all this together in a little bit.
Yes.
But here's probably the one that this is what will probably tie a lot of it together initially anyway. So contribution points example. So we're aware of what you know, V1 to V5 were previously. As you can see, there's an extra couple in here, and we're aware of the first column, the community performance, which is basically the amount of sales in your downline, you know, and that's how these things were calculated. So if you made V3, you were V3, even if you did no more, did nothing, you always stay as V3 or V5 or whatever level, it's irrelevant, but whatever level you are at. And as Pinicky said, and I think it's a good change, they've changed it from VIP to just V, because I think that wasn't really a great way of describing it, but so it's just V.
Yes.
And, but the beauty here is that there's an extra column now. So I could go out and achieve V3 at some point. And so I'll go, okay, I'm a V3, look how great I am, right? And I've done 250 sales, and throughout my team have done 250,000 worth of sales. But if I'm contributing nothing, if I brought in a few people, they're working away, they're building a team, and creating sales and all the rest of it, and they get to, my team ends up being this 250,000, but I'm not logging on, I'm having nothing really to do with this, then my contribution points will be 0. And in that example, I will not be V3, I'll be a V0. Or maybe I've done, now I believe this to be a typo error there, this first one where it says 80,000 in contribution points. I'm pretty certain it's going to be 8,000.
It's not actually.
Oh, isn't it?
No, I did confirm that.
Okay, that seems strange.
Yes, I think it's basically, when you think about it, well, V0 more or less explains itself. You literally don't log in, don't do anything. And also, if everybody looks at their HyperNation account, it says V0. So that's where you start from. You have to get to a certain point to show that you've contributed. So 80,000 is correct, but then the next levels become easier. So it's all about maintaining a level. And guess what? If you're doing certain things on a regular basis, and don't forget, even simple things like voting on something is a contribution point. So it's not just you have to do every single one of these things. You can do a whole variety of them, and each one will give you different contribution points. So I suppose when you look at it one way is, somebody says, oh, I'm a V5. In a way, you can't really say that anymore, because 1 week you could be a V5, 1 month. 45 days later, you could be a V1 because you did not a lot. So you have to maintain that level. So in a way, it's good that it sort of moves away from this whole idea of I need a title to say I'm a V this and a V that. You don't. You just need to be a member of this society to be able to get these different levels.
Yeah, so if you were a V5 and your team has done 2 million in sales,
yeah,
but you've done those 2 million in sales, that number is not going to change. So based on that, you are a V5. But if you've contributed, your contribution points are say 42,000 there, well, then you will actually be seen as a V3 when it comes to certain parts of the rewards. Yes. And so obviously this thing can fluctuate. It's also important to note that, for example, you could put in contribution points of 625,000, but if your sales are at 2 million, well, then you'll be a V5. So it's, your sales are at whatever level, and then your contribution points will dictate whether you're maintain that level or back. It can't drag you forward. So contribution points can't pull you up. It just means as long as you maintain at least the level, it won't drag you back. But it does ensure that you can't have people in here who are just doing 0 and getting paid out, for example, as a V5, but adding nothing to the community and to they're not contributing, hence contribution points. So I think this is absolutely brilliant because it takes out of the equation some that we discussed 3 different issues before we started on this. One was some guy coming in with say 100 grand, doing a structure, sucking out loads of money and taking no part in anything. What are they adding to the community? And the answer is 0. This takes this out of the equation, because if they put that 100 grand in, okay, they can get there 3 times, or well, up to 3 times. But that may well be linked also to their contribution points. I'm sure they'll get some no matter what, but maybe if they're not contributing at all, they put in this big chunk of money, well then maybe they'll get a times 1.5 and this is guesswork. I have no idea of numbers.
But there's another way to look at it. Now we've realized, just going through these 9 slides, is that there's going to be whitelisting for NFTs which haven't even come onto the market yet. Now, if you don't, have enough contribution points, it could be they don't open the door for you to be able to mint new NFTs. And as you said, some have sold for $400 and gone up to 100,000. Some have sold for 400 and gone up to $1,000, or are probably not even sold. But don't forget, if you want that door open, you have to be a contributing member to society. And isn't that what every single country is asking for? It encourages work.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very difficult to expect to get a universal basic income if there's no input whatsoever. If you own any type of store, but let's say a car, you were selling cars and you own the place and you had people there working to sell cars, and you had a guy in there for 6 months who never sold a car and didn't seem too bothered about selling a car, would you continue paying them? Or would you say you either need to sell a car or you need to go somewhere else? If they're adding nothing to the business, how is the business supposed to continue paying them? And this is no different.
Yeah.
Well, I think it is different, but it gives you the idea and the concept. So, look, hopefully that explains that. And again, I think we'll put all this in a nutshell at the end, but we'll continue going through it here.
Yeah.
So there's three reward systems in HyperNation. So there's the citizens referral reward, which is probably almost self-explanatory, the community ranking reward, and the equality reward. So we'll just tip through those. So here's the first one. Everyone on here will be fairly familiar with this. You can invite people into this HyperNation, and obviously that has benefits to you and so on. We'll just skip straight into this. This is the reward. And again, everybody is probably very familiar with this in that you can see the citizen level. So whether someone's on your first level, second level, third level, and so on, these numbers are the very same as they were before. So there's no education required here. Your first is 20%, second level 15%, and so on. Everything's identical there, to my memory. So the example is, if your direct downline achieves a total of 100,000 HU per day, you will receive 20,000 HU per day. That's your 20%. That's straightforward enough. If your downline from level 2 earns 100,000 per day, you will receive 15,000 HU per day. Again, obviously that's 15%, straightforward enough. Don't think we need to spend too much time on that. Do you want to say anything?
No, it's basically we've seen this. This hasn't changed. Guess what? Why change? If it's not broken, there's no need to fix it. So this wasn't broken, so they haven't bothered fixing it. Exactly.
So then the citizen referral reward example, and again, fairly straightforward, but based on the two examples they just gave there, this is just it summarized. So the last sentence there, you can receive total citizen referral reward is 35,000 HU, which are contributed by A and B. So again, all that's the same as it was. So I don't think we need to spend much time on that.
No.
So then there's the two other rewards. So there's community ranking reward and the equality reward. So different national levels are entitled to different percentages of the community reward under the following. So this is separate now. So what we've just seen, the first reward is the very same as it was before. And what we're just about to discuss now doesn't affect that. But this then is the two other rewards where your ranking will have a certain, it will have a very significant part to play on the percentages that are calculated for you. So the different national levels are entitled to different percentages of the community reward under the following: the community ranking reward and the equality reward. So they're number 2 and 3. The basis for calculating the community reward is determined by the performance of large and small community. So we'll just tip on to that. So depending on, obviously, whether you're a V0, V1, all the way up to V7, determines what percentage that you will receive through this bonus. Upline's national level must be greater than the national level of her downline within 20 levels. So obviously you have the potential to earn a percentage on these on your team below you, provided their V standing is less than your V standing. Okay. Obviously, if it's greater, that particular person won't be included in your calculation.
Sorry, go on.
No,
I think the other important thing to read into all of this, you know, we can play with the numbers and look at all of this, but the most important part of this is it says community ranking reward. You're building a community. You're not creating sponsors upline, downline, and all the rest of it. It's a community you're building. You know, you're on a journey to build your own you know, citizenship, your own town, exactly. Think of it as building your own town. You've gone in, you built your own house. Now you're going to help your community to build theirs too. And this is what this is all about. It's about a community you're building.
Yeah, I think that there's a mindset change required for this compared to the way most people treat it hyper-verse, in that you will create value for yourself by creating value for others. And you know, again, we'll come back to when we're wrapping all this up to maybe talk about that a bit more. So part two, the community ranking award does not include the entire community of your direct downline with the highest performance. So in other words, again, this was part of what was in the old system. Your highest, you know, let's say you had 3 good team builders that you are in your team. Whoever's doing the biggest, building the biggest team will not be included in your calculation. The other 2 will be. And that's, again, something we're familiar with. And it supports up to 20 levels downline, which again, we're familiar with. So again, I think the next slide will explain a little bit more about all of this. So let's say you are, and we'll use the example that's here. You are a V4. So let's say we've got V4 here, that's you. You've got someone here on your left that we can see the X's through their head. That's one of your team builders, and they're flying it. They're building a very big team and bringing a lot of value into the community. They won't be included in your calculations. So they're on one side, and then so we look at on the right hand side, and we've got you know, on your first level, you've got a V3, very good. On level 2, you have a V2, and a level 3, you have V2. So what's that mean? Well, the prerequisites here is that the V3 performance, what they're saying is, you know, as an example, is 400,000 HU. If you're currently national level V4 and your downline is V3, you will receive 3% on this bonus. How is that calculated? Straightforward enough. I'm just going to go back to the sheet. So we want to see V4 and V3. So we'll just go back to the previous sheet. Why is that not moving for me? Oh yeah, here we go. If I just go back to this one, oh, I skipped it. If you go here, you can see V4 6% and V3 is 3%. So that's where those numbers come from. Just I think is important to know. So when you see these numbers here now, you are V4. That gives you 6%. But the person in level 1 is a V3 and they're entitled to 3%. So obviously 6% minus 3% is 3%. So you now get 3% of this bonus, which is 400,000, which in this example would give you 12,000 HU. So hopefully that works. Again, if you wanted to expand out that example, we have here level 2. You can work out again what their percentage is, how much what their turnover is, and you work it out from there. So it's straightforward enough, I think. Anything, do you want to add anything, Panicky, before we go on?
No, absolutely. It's pretty straightforward. It's what we've already known before. And to be honest, if you didn't know it before and you were building a team, then you definitely need to know it.
Yeah, the method of calculation is slightly different, but the general thesis behind it is the same. So we'll go on to the next one. And then this brings us on to the equality reward. So in the last reward, you'll see if I was a V4 and the person below me was V3 or less, I'd make some percentage. But what happens if the person below you was V4? You're V4 and they're V4. Well, in that bonus, you get nothing, which seems okay. Why would that be the case? You're encouraging and helping that person to get to V4. You're V4 and you're getting nothing for that. Well, not in that one, but in this one you will. So it's called the equality reward. The uplines national level equals the national level of his her downlines with 20 levels. So minimum national level. So this is for V3s upwards. So the example here is, if you're currently national level is V4 and your downline is V4, you will receive 1% equality reward. So in other words, you know, because in the other rewards might go, you're nearly being penalized for helping and encouraging and bringing your downline up to the same level as yourself. Well, that's the case in that one, but in this one they go, yeah, well, we appreciate that work, and there's a 1% match here. So again, I think fairly straightforward. You have to be V3 or above to be considered for this. It's based on someone being level with you, and it's 1%. So I think it's straightforward. But Panicky, again, if you want to add it.
Absolutely. I think the other important thing to remember in this is whatever V level you are in Hyperverse is not what you will be in HyperNation. It's totally different. So no, everybody is almost going back. And if you look in your HyperNation account, it actually says V0. So everybody starts at the bottom, which is great because that's the way you rebuild something. The great thing is, because we've done what we've done so far and we've opted for various options that the company has offered, we're now going to go into this almost, boosting our rankings up. The next bit we need to do is now become members of communities and help the community, and then your ranking will move.
Yeah, very good. And on to the next slide. We're nearly there, by the way. There's only a few slides left. How do the mechanics work? Well, as we were aware before, 1 in, up to 3 times out, up to 3 times out, regardless of the fact whether you receive referral rewards or community rewards. A maximum of 3 times of the principal sum of the package will be awarded to you for every purchase. So, whatever X amount of money, I'll use 100, obviously the package isn't 100, but if you put in $100, you can get back to $300. It doesn't change no matter what community rewards or what you do on there. That 100 won't turn into any more than 300, but it will come to you quicker if you're involved in building the community and all the rest of it. And of course, there are rebuys back on the scene here, and they are 50 HU. So I think most people will be happy with that scenario.
True.
And next slide is, and this one for me is a very interesting one. The citizens referral reward. So all rewards are shown in HyperNation account. So I think what this will mean is for the people that have bought whatever box, well, excluding green coming up now, but for anyone that's got the yellow, purple, platinum box, the 3 times reward will be distributed from the user's existing pending reward. Now, this is just my reading of this, but I think what's going to happen here is if you have, for example, I don't know, 10,000 pending reward in Hyperverse, and let's say for argument's sake, you have 1,000 in actual rewards, then the 10,000, I believe, is going to come across and be shown here in your HyperNation back office. And and so that will be there in your pending rewards. The 1,000, depending on which box you've got, you'll be allowed some percentage of that to be put into a package. So let's just say, for argument's sake, 10% of your 1,000. So the 1,900 will be locked up and be held there for you potentially to tick some boxes along the way to release those funds. But the 100 will be able to be used towards a package. And so you can buy that initial package, including that 100, buy that package and get your 3 times on that, which will, of course, will start adding to your pending rewards over time. But your existing pending rewards that you had over here that you brought into HyperNation, that's where the pending rewards will start to get paid out from, or sorry, those pending rewards, they'll start to come out at the rate they should come out within HyperNation. So whatever the rate was over in Hyperverse, that was over in Hyperverse, and it was based on the team and whatever situation you are in over there. But the pending rewards will come across here now, and they'll get paid out based on whatever's happening in your account in HyperNation. And for me, this is a very clever way of them doing what they said they would do, which is allowing people to bring across their pending rewards, which I'm sure we're all very happy for, and I'm certainly grateful for. But it'll be coming out at a different rate, and obviously I would expect a much slower rate initially. And this is a way for the company to, bring this across, give us everything that we are due, but not put themselves in a position where they're having to pay out huge money straight away as they develop this system out. And so for me, it's very clever. it's honest, it's transparent, and by the way, just my read of it, that might not be the way this is going to work. It makes sense that that would be the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I read it the same way. Is, you know, your whatever they release, which they haven't done yet, they will say this is what will move over. This is what you can use to buy membership packages, and pending rewards from HV are migrating over. We'll bring Keith on in a minute as well, because Keith's on the call as well, so he'll be able to add some extra information. But this is the way we see it. Look, this we always knew that this was a new way of doing things. And don't forget, this is when you work as a community, we help each other. What makes the company any different? We want to help the company to be able to make this the most amazing experience ever. And that means that, you know, we're all part of that team. We're all part of that community. We're helping them. They're helping us. We can launch a whole load of NFTs and a million different things. So don't get stuck on the small stuff now. Yes, you know, things are going to improve. And you can see they've put a lot of work into this. So when people say, oh, what have they been doing for the past few months? Believe me, they've been doing a huge amount of work, because all of this takes a lot of working out, planning, organizing, and actually churning through the numbers to see how this can be moved into a whole new way of doing things. Guess what? The other great thing is nobody is doing anything like this out there at all, even in the NFT world. So this is totally unique.
Yeah, so look, I'll flick the last two. I don't think we need to spend much time on. Community rewards are subject to the results of the accumulated sales in totality, and this excludes the sales from the highest performer direct download. We've touched on that already, and that's that. So I'm going to go back to this slide here, because I think that probably gives us the opportunity to wrap all this up. I'll go back to the car sales guy just for a second and go, now imagine a car sales guy who is adding massive value. He's selling cars every day. Things are absolutely flying it. What's that car salesperson doing? Well, number one, he's ensuring that the business is in good stead, because he's adding massive value to that business, which in turn means the business can offer him a really, not only is he getting a good income, but maybe there's additional for bonuses for selling whatever number of cars. There's more opportunity is the point. But the first and foremost thing is, if the company itself is solid, then everything else can continue. If the company itself is not solid, then it's shaky ground for everybody, not just the company, but for everybody involved. So it's in our own interest to ensure that the company is in a solid place. And so it makes sense that they're setting this up. But the biggest question anyone would probably ask, be it already in or looking at coming in to HyperNation, is why? Why would I get involved? Well, the first carrot that's there to draw people in is, oh, you can get, up to 3 times your money. So that's pretty big deal for anybody. I mean, you ask anybody anywhere, if you can put in X amount of money and get 3 times your money back, that's very nice. Okay, so that's a lovely carrot to draw people into HyperNation. But the real key here is the opportunity, and this is what brings us way above and beyond what was there in Hyperverse. And they, like I said, they've seen the couple of issues that were there that caused them problems from that whole cash flow point of view. They've fixed all of those, and that's where this contribution point thing really comes into play. But now how they can use that as they move through is phenomenal, because now they can encourage people that as they're getting, so they've brought those people in, let's assume completely new people, everyone here is sort of aware, but you're making your 3 times. As those pending rewards come out now, the only game in town isn't just withdrawing them. It's, okay, there's this really cool NFT project going on sale. We're getting to go on it. We are getting to be the very first people to mint this particular project. If you look into it and you know a little bit about NFTs and you go, well, this looks really strong and I think there could be really good upside here, and we're getting to get in there first. Well, I want to buy 1. Maybe I want to buy 5, but maybe it's linked to your contribution points as to how many you can buy. So maybe if you're at V1, maybe you can only buy 1. Or, if you're at V5, you can buy 5. If you choose to, of course, you don't have to. Or maybe there's different tiers of those NFTs, as there often is, and maybe depending on your contribution points, it decides which tiers you can buy into, which will have, you know, that bigger potential down the line. So the contribution points can be tied to anything. I have no idea if it is. We do know obviously it's tied to your national level, but maybe they can go, well, if you take part in this DeFi project here where you're earning a nice return, then that will help in your contribution points. Maybe if you decide to stake MOF, that there'll be some contribution points to that. Maybe you need to stake some MOF, or if you stake some MOF, that it will make the gun that you want to buy cheaper within, you know, or maybe you have to have a certain V level to be able to buy a spaceship. Maybe you need to have, you know, a certain number of V2s, V1s, 2s, and 3s in your outfit before you can take the spaceship somewhere. So there's so many ways that can tie all of this in. But the real beauty is if they can almost really encourage us in through the rewards that we receive and the contribution points that we get, that in turn helps those rewards anyway. If they can get us to ensure that we log in every day and so on. Why is the logging in every day important? So you can imagine HyperNation as a company going to a certain project, let's say a really, really good NFT project. And that NFT project is thinking, will I launch on this Hyper NFT, or will I launch on this OpenSea? Well, let's just say you're bringing out an NFT with 10,000 pieces, which is, you know, relatively standard. You can put it out in OpenSea. Who's going to know about it? How are they going to know it's there? Who's going to want to buy it? I have no idea. And that is probably the biggest challenge. Or you can go to a community where they say, well, look, we have, the number doesn't matter. Let's say 100,000 people who are logging in every day. Now, to the NFT people, that's absolutely music to their ears. We're trying to sell 10,000 of them. We can go onto this community and have 100,000 people be aware of this NFT in 24 hours. That's incredible and very attractive. So what does that allow Hyper NFT do? They can do an extraordinarily good deal on those NFTs for anyone that buys it through the Hyper platform. So that creates value for us. So we've created value for HyperNation by logging on every day, very simple task. And they in turn, because of that, have huge negotiating power, which gives them and us a really good deal on the NFT. In fact, the fact we even get that really good NFT opportunity that we may not get on OpenSea. So like, there are so many ways that if we just give a little to allow the company to have that value to then go and attract the very best opportunities for us, then we're helping each other. We help the company, they help us. Simple as that. And that's what these contribution points are all about. It's for people to be active and let the world know about HyperNation.
Yeah, just a very quick overview. Basically, it's very similar to what you've already seen, but now, you know, when you log in, you'll be aware of what's coming or what is about to be launched. And here's the thing, and why would a company actually come to us? Firstly, because everybody who's a member of HyperNation, and I'm not talking every single person, but all of us who are in this part of the community are getting daily rewards. And now you can say, well, I'll extract some and I'll turn it into XYZ, or maybe I'll go and buy some NFTs. And now you can see where the value is coming in. So the old idea of fear of missing out is now turning out to fear of not logging in. Because if you don't log in, you're going to miss out. And when your friend says, oh, wow, what did you do? Well, I logged in every day, what you couldn't do. So, you know, that's where we bring in Keith.
Yeah. I'll just say one last thing, sorry.
Yes.
Like the additional point to that, and there's many additional points we could make, but if you then go, imagine you buy one of these NFTs and it does really well. Let's just say it might do 3, 10, 20, 50, 100, and NFTs do that. No, they also can go the other way, don't get me wrong at all. But imagine you do really well with one, and then you're telling your mate, geez, I bought an NFT there a few weeks ago and it's after gone up fucking this much money, and geez, where'd you get that? Oh, I bought it on the NFT, the Hyper NFT platform. Oh, cool. What's that about? I'm aware of OpenSea. What's that one about? Oh, well, look, all you need to do, get a green box, get in there. It opens up the door to this stuff and you have unreal opportunities. And by the way, you can get a 3x on your money or up to, but also you get exposed to all these other amazing things. Do you think it'll be difficult for to get someone to have a look at that green box and consider getting into HyperNation? I'm telling you, they'll run through you for it. So there is a completely change of mindset as to what we have here. The 3X is lovely for certain, sure, and it gives you that money to make decisions on where you go next with it. And we'll have all those opportunities within HyperNation. But the attraction from the outside world into HyperNation is just going to be absolutely phenomenal at a completely different level to where maybe we've been used to before.
Yeah, totally. Keith.
Morning, Finicky. Morning, Vivian. How you guys doing?
Good morning.
Very good morning.
Amazing training. Listen, we only had I think we got the information yesterday, had a little run through last night, but you guys have smashed it out of the park. Awesome training with such little information. You've created an hour of just a run through that I think gives us a lot more clarity. What I loved about your training today and the team around you is that you are looking at what's being delivered and you're figuring it out. We haven't been given all the information, and you're prepared to deliver that information to those that still believe and buy into this beautiful new platform, new direction to a certain degree. So I want to thank you both for doing this. Of course, I was going to jump on, and I'm glad that you've recorded it, because this is a great resource for many of the HyperNation and those that are still thinking about jumping into the HyperNation new platform, because I think it's fabulous. I won't add too much to what you've said. You've covered everything, and I think you've hit the nail on the head on every aspect. I love the fact that they have got a system of contribution, and you have to develop a contribution level in order for you to maintain. And that's beautiful. Again, you know, Hyperverse, Hyperfund, the program, it's been the best program I've ever seen in 25, 30 years of being in the industry. And it had an inherent beauty. However, there were elements of it that, as you said, Pinnicky, that people took advantage of and exploited. And the last 6 months, everything came to a head, not just the fact that there's parts of the old plan that just needed to be readdressed. Yeah, I mean, I've been here since, and you have, Pinnicky, since the very early days, and Vivian yourself from the very early days. And let's be honest, we're networkers, and there's individuals that have been on this platform for a year or two and haven't had to do any work whatsoever. So literally, they became headhunters for networkers and grafters. So they've, you know, found one or two great leaders or great networkers from other programs, got them involved, and have had a real wonderful ride for 2 years, a year and a half. And they've done very well from the platform. And my conversations with the company over the last year, we identified that. I mean, my entire upline practically had an amazing journey in Hyper. I get them complaining because they can't withdraw right now. Well, rightly so. I mean, you know, if you haven't been able to survive on what you've been able to achieve over the last couple of years, I'm sure every single one of you on this call would love to change spots with them. But the reality is that they've identified the hole that they've had to plug. They've done that really well, and I believe what they've delivered to us now in HyperNation is a much fairer system. And I would say that, and I spent two and a half years here, and you know, as I said, it's embarrassing the fact that they will continue to pay. They were continuing to pay, and the level they had no limits. I mean, it was just incredible what they were able to do. And I think they've realized that their generosity has sort of, you know, to some degree been a big thorn for them, and maybe an issue that they've had to take care of right now. I'm really excited, Pinnicky and Vivian, because I'll just end with this. You know, Hyperverse Hyperfund, we had a fantastic idea and concept, but the world has changed since 2020 dramatically, not just in terms of you know, what's going on outside of the crypto space, but you look at the conflict. I mean, the recession, they keep talking about recession, global recession, a global depression. And that is now, and I'm beginning to see the little green shoots. Guys, just pay attention to what's going on. The little green shoots in the crypto space. And recession is certainly helping the market to become a little bit more bullish. That is very important. I'm kicking myself today because 2 weeks ago, or less than 2 weeks ago, Vivian, you'll know this, Ethereum was at $900. I scratched my head and thought, wow. And inside me, I was saying I should buy some Ethereum. I mean, $900 is less than $1,000 for Ethereum. In the high, it was over 4,000. At $900, it represented to me good value, but the cautious side in me saying, well, I better just hold on to what I've got. Let's leave it in a little bit of USDT and not take any risks. But guess what today? It's just under $1,800. I mean, in 2 weeks, you would have doubled if you took that risk in just Ethereum. So these guys are waiting for this bullish market to really grab hold. And they are going to certainly, this is a 3-year plan, guys. It is minimum 3 years. They will take care of all the issues in Hyperverse. I know that because I've had many conversations, and Pinnicky, you said it, it's easier for them to shut up shop and just say, guys, we did our best. Those of you that benefited, brilliant, good, you know, I'm really happy that we've turned your lives around. The rest of you, well, you know, the industry, where we are right now, we just overextended. We've got to close down, but they haven't chosen that route. What they've said is, guys, we know we've got a liability over the other side that we've got to deal with, and they're going to deal with that. But we still have to grow. And Vivian, you said it right. If you have a car lot and you've got, you know, 10 guys working for you and no one's selling cars, how long are you going to be paying those guys? I mean, let's be honest, okay, right? A couple of months of no car sales and everybody will be shown, you know, the door. That's it, done. And that's business, and that's what we've got to understand. But you guys have smashed it out of the park. I'll end on that. Guys, just keep hope alive. There are tens of thousands now that have joined Hyper from Hyperverse, as well as from outside. They have, because of the advertising campaign, the bill posters, they have attracted a whole bunch of new you know, citizens into HyperNation. I'm truly excited, guys. Thank you for doing this today. And I hope this recording gets out quickly so others can just get excited as we are. Brilliant.
Thank you very much, Keith. Thank you, Vivian. I'm just going to end with, don't forget that everybody has joined, you know, whoever you've joined this is, you know, when we talk about this idea of, you know, the car lot with the guy selling cars, this doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has to go and refer someone or anything like that. This is a choice. You know, this is also about being a citizen and helping the community. So just by taking part within HyperNation is part of that story too. So it's not just all one-sided. Look, not all of us are salespeople. Not all of us like selling cars. Some of us like fixing cars. Some of us like washing cars, you know, so all of us are part of this. The point is, we're all active members of this community, and that's the most important part. Don't be somebody who sits there doing nothing and then complains 6 months later, I don't know what's going on. Well, you know, grow up and basically take control of your life, because it's down to you at the end of the day. What you put in is what you'll get out. And that's not even on a monetary terms. So I'm going to stop the recording now.